Welcome to the fourth part of bullying with manipulative character assassination and its effects. Today we are talking about why is this so and how can you help. Since this topic is very complex, some points from the last videos will be repeated.
We know, we repeat this, but it is very important. Because with this topic again, you really have to remember that bullying is not just a newfangled term, but an extreme form of violence that is still not taken seriously enough and that begins or can begin at a very early age.
The events taking place between the students or neighborhoods are typical combinations of various forms of violence.
It must be assumed that these persons who now act as perpetrators themselves became victims of violence in their childhood, which causes frustration today if they cannot exercise violence in any form by themselves.
They have never known charity, so that friendliness, loyalty, and genuine charity have remained foreign words to them.
Of course, they know these words, but they frighten them and bring uncertainty out of this fear and insecurity. They arbitrarily choose victims to manipulatively strengthen their inner restlessness and the necessary sense of belonging. They have never learned it any other way. They manipulate people to strengthen themselves, they continue what they already know. And that is violence in whatever form.
Eloquent, excessive, or even exaggerated self-confidence and reality-distorted as well as overly exaggerated portrayal of oneself or a thing which are accompanied by an arbitrary frightening aloofness.
But why is this so?
As we know now, perpetrators are usually victims of violence themselves or are currently suffering it.
But no one should see how weak or vulnerable they really are. No one should recognize what kind of suffering they are going through. The collapse of the protective wall would mean complete exposure. And in order not to endanger this aloofness and to protect their distorted perception, they often choose the wrong way and become perpetrators themselves.
They are perceived as crazy and unpredictable, sometimes even as thugs.
Therefore, for people who deal with them on a daily basis, the best thing is to keep as they are and to dare to stand up to them. Because exactly with these first thoughts, I make myself invisible so that he or she does not pick me out, is the beginning of a bullying victim role.
Bullying perpetrators pick out the most bizarre things to keep the victim small. Religion, ancestry, skin color are the keywords. But often they are banal things like good grades in school, poverty and exclusion from society, diseases and disabilities, stuttering, wearing glasses, big ears, crooked teeth, braces. The list could go on forever.
And such a banal thing is what these exemplary disputes are about, whereby one cannot call it a dispute since one side is fully acting out of the perpetrator role.
The perpetrators proceed very mercilessly and do not always stick to verbal attacks.
Far too often, physical violence is also used. This combination of physical and psychological violence can burden and internally destroy victims to such an extent that they even take their own lives.
Subliminal bullying always takes place directly between the perpetrator and the victim.
It is frightening to see how a single person, the perpetrator, can be so manipulative that others don't even think to question a perpetrator's statement without providing any evidence at all. One should be able to expect that suspicious allegations simply cannot be true. But all assume that one person, the perpetrator, in their exaggerated delusion or in their torn self-perception or representation, speaks the truth.
Normal would be to hear both sides and then form an opinion. And since that does not happen, one recognizes the manipulative procedure.
But unfortunately, also in society, far too often one looks away, just like in the examples given in our last videos. Or the dangers of bullying are not recognized at all. Also, one cannot prevent or really prove bullying because of the subliminal unpredictability. Bullying always runs off subliminally.
Spectators have usually turned away from the victim and would prefer not to have anything to do with the matter. After all, they could then become victims themselves, but they still listen. But this exclusion and the silence of the audience does not free them from their guilt.
In conclusion, perpetrators are perceived as crazy and unpredictable, sometimes even as thugs. You don't really want to have anything to do with them and want to avoid them because due to their unpredictability and their loud, strange behavior, you never know when or why they will choose you as the next victim. One can behave still so inconspicuously, but for the offenders there are enough reasons to attack the victim arbitrarily.
There is an infinite number of true stories of suffering. You're able to see more about bullying in our last videos.